All right, guys, welcome to Wide Awake News Radio. I am Charlie McGrath. It's the 7th day. Oh, man, a week into May already. The great Eric Lovely is joining me tonight on this Tuesday broadcast on the Rinse Radio Network, as well as the Next News Network picking up the live feed. If you're not in the chat and you want to join them, wideawakenews.com. Click on the Wide Awake Radio microphone. That'll take you into chat. As I said, we have Eric of the Lovely family. Yeah, Are you all right, buddy?
I'm good.
Did you laugh at me?
No, huh?
Okay, all right. I heard a snort.
Trying to keep my head still.
Yeah, stop bobbing and weaving. If you want to see the great Eric Lovely with a very cool flag behind him, you can watch us do this thing live because we're both streaming on Justin TV. That link is available in the chat room, again, at wideawakenews.com. And tonight's program will be Eric and I. You know what? I really want to just kind of do a roundtable, Eric. You and me, and Gary, you can jump in if you want. Callers, 877-342-6673. If you want to call in and just get into a roundtable discussion on anything and everything, because as Eric and I talked before the program, there's no shortage of things that we can cover that show the health of this nation and the health of this republic, fledgling, or dying, I should say, republic. Coming up, hour number 2, we have Sheriff Mack. For that second hour, should be interesting to hear what Sheriff Mack has to say. Certainly going to pick his brain a little bit about the nullification issue. You know, I did a video yesterday where Kansas came out and said, basically, to the federal government, you're not. Kansas passed into law. Eric, let's get her going. Kansas passed into law what a lot of states, including Montana, including Wyoming, and I'm not sure about Colorado. I'm sure you're going to inform me here. Kansas passed into law legislation that they had written that states that following: it is unlawful for an official, agent, employee of the government of the United States or employer or corporation providing service to the government of the United States to attempt to enforce any act, law, treaty, rule, or regulation of the government of the United States regarding a firearm accessory, ammunition that is manufactured in the state of Kansas and remains in the borders of Kansas. Violation of this section is a severity level 10 non-person felony. Now, what's interesting about that isn't the fact that Kansas passed it into law and they're standing up for their own sovereignty, which is a far cry too late for most of our states in this once great union. What is the story on this is Eric Holder, Attorney General, fast and furious, gun-running Eric Holder, who has no problem seeing a scenario. Listen, ladies and gentlemen, he has no problem seeing a scenario where you, as a potential terrorist, could be killed by this same freedom-loving, peace-loving government that doesn't want its citizens to own weapons, it seems like. Eric Holder came out and said, well, I don't really care what Kansas said. We will, if we have laws on the book, federal laws on the book, and we want to do a gun grab, too bad, Kansas, too bad, America, too bad, states. The Supremacy Clause is supreme, and we will come in and do as we see fit. Eric Lovely, student of history that you are, let's break down real quick for those of you who don't know. And guys, we might get into this with Sheriff Mack too, but I do believe Eric probably can educate us as well as anybody on the Supremacy Clause, on the Articles of Confederation, on what our forefathers had to say about the Supremacy Clause. We're going to clear some stuff up right now. The government does not have a leg to stand on when it comes to violating states' rights. A first-year law student, a third-year high school government student knows that the Supremacy Clause is being manipulated and pimped in order to steal your freedom. Eric Lovely, am I missing anything?
No, absolutely not. It's kind of funny because there was something that I wanted to promote that we actually finally got pushed forward, and I was glad to take part in its construction, but it actually is a specific individual who is teaching. But if you go to if you look up Tom Woods, or you go to his onlineclassroom.org, they are now finished the curriculum and have presented an entire curriculum based on just this subject. The Constitution taught on ratification principles, what the actual forefathers and what the individual states said, not these afterthoughts like Hamilton and these other Federalists who the anti-Federalists screamed and told them that they were wrong, told them not to try these kinds of things, try not to give the government these kinds of powers in the 1800s. So you can actually go over, and I think the really great thing about this classroom is because not only will it take care of the supremacy clause and an understanding of where these clauses come from, but it actually goes step by step, dealing with each and every clause in the Constitution and what the states told the people they meant, what the actual conventions told the people that they meant, what people like Jefferson did. Now, and a lot of people, today, if you look at this whole the supremacy clause and the commerce clause and these other clauses, you see, they've left them open to interpretation, and that's what everybody has. All of this, you could find 6 articles today. There's some wackadoodle guy who said, the right way to interpret the Constitution. Well, there isn't any way to interpret the Constitution. You read it and apply it.
Yeah, yeah.
Those are the principles that really are lost, and this educational class is going to help everyone understand exactly what the forefathers. You'll be introduced to dozens of forefathers that you never even have ever heard of before, who actually wrote signing notes and gave speeches at the time of the ratification and voiced all of these concerns that everyone's talking about now. And let me tell you, the Supremacy Clause is a serious twisting and warping of what the words really say, and the government truly has no leg to stand on because the 10th Amendment comes along and cleans all that up.
Well, the freedom movement, or whatever we want to see people standing up for themselves, have really brought this to light in the last several days. The Supremacy Clause has to be incongruent with the Constitution, not in defiance of it, and that's the big twist here. This is what Eric Holder. This is what, and you know what, guys. Again, it has been our track record here at Wide Awake News Radio that, at least my feeling is that it isn't. Look, as Eric pointed out to me before the program tonight, my glowing announcement yesterday when I had Colonel McGregor on, and he's laughing right now if you see my Justin TV. And some people probably didn't agree with a lot of what he had to say, especially later in the interview about the left-right deal. You know what? Maybe I didn't agree with everything he said, but I agree with a lot of what he had to say. But look, it isn't just Holder and Obama that are twisting our Constitution. It isn't just Holder and Obama who are taking a stance that is counterintuitive to freedom. It has been every administration going back for, Eric, you can tell us how long, for a long, long time, that is twisting what freedom is, twisting what rights are, and twisting what the meaning of words are in something that was so simple and basic. If you're watching on Justin TV, you're seeing me hold up our complete original, Eric's going to correct me here, Constitution, a little bitty pamphlet size piece of writing that is simple to understand, yet so convoluted and so torn up and manipulated today to have us believe that we don't have a right unless it's given to us by man. This is the basic principle that we need to eliminate, this basic notion that our rights, our freedom, our well-being, our ability to try to prosper comes at the behest of man. If we don't get past that basic piece of fact, then we are stuck in slavery. Period. And period. That's it. Our rights are not issued by Eric Holder, George W. Bush, Barack Obama, John McCain, or any of these other turncoat politicians in Washington, D.C., or corporate leaders. Our rights are inherent. Our rights are not something that can be created by a human. We have them, period. We need to understand that. And the state of Kansas standing up and saying, no way, federal government, you're not coming in here, is a good step. But the reaction that we're going to see going forward is going to be all telling on to where this leads. Does it lead to nullification, or does it lead to civil war? That was what my video was about yesterday. We'll be back with Eric of the Lovely Family. More Wide Awake News Radio in a minute. Hang tight. Welcome back to Wide Awake News Radio. Eric Lovely, Charlie McGrath, Gary Hendershot, Karen Tostada behind the scenes, Bonnie Bowman doing her deal over at Wide Awake News, webmastering. Welcome to the program. A lot of people bring this on, and I don't mention that enough, so I just did. Eric, let's continue this conversation on on this grab of freedom in Kansas. Where does this go? And I'm feeling kind of bad here because I know I'm going to be pulling these same questions on Sheriff Mack, but whatever, we'll make a program out of it. This is on my mind. I mean, there's a lot of things we could talk about, right? We got Benghazi, the worry that, or at least the drama that it could bring down the administration. We have Kerry being held at arm's length by Putin in Russia for several hours, a posturing game there. We have more talk of retaliation against Israel for their strike in Syria. More, drama being built up geopolitically. But honestly, we got to think local, right? And I said it last night. I'm worried about my son. I'm worried about his future, my future of my country. When I see things like this grab by Holder or this attempt by Holder to say states don't have the ability to be self-governed because of a false notion that we are an increasingly violent nation, it shows to me the direction they're picking to choose us. They're picking to take us. It's going to be control from a tyrannical government.
Yeah, and I think some of the things are that people need to be aware of. If you look at some of these laws, a lot of people are really excited. They're excited about some things that are going on in Montana, and they're excited about some of these other states that are doing these similar types of nullification and these similar types of laws. Well, here's the whole idea that people really need to focus upon. The police are trained by the federal government. They write the academy, the curriculum for your state police academies and things of this nature. Okay? They are the command and control operation of the people who are going to enforce the federal law. So if you really have to start to question, well, which one are the police going to listen to? Are they going to listen to the governor, or are they going to listen to the president? Who are they going to listen to? So I'm trying not to get too excited about these laws until I actually see some metal hit the meat. And a state really, let's see him bring a couple FBI agents out in orange jumpsuits with, handcuffs on them. Let's see him bring a couple DEA agents and some ATF guys in there on their ankle chain gang into the middle of the courtroom, and then we'll get excited. Then we'll start talking about it to really see if the state means anything or if it's just a lot of blow and they're going to pass a law and then stand by while the feds do whatever they want anyways. Yeah. And in Colorado, you have the opposite effect. You see, this is the reason why Colorado is so much different than what everybody else is doing. As everybody else, they're trying to beat the pan to create legislation. Okay? What's happening in Colorado is the legislation is already against us. But what we have done is we have captured the enforcers. Okay? The highest enforcement office in the land being the sheriff. So with this, the Sheriff's Association came together, drew up a draft paperwork, drew up a letter, and all the sheriffs in the entire state signed it. Okay.
Was it all? Did they all get on board?
Well, it was about no. There were several that said no. There were 6 or 7 of them that said no, but it passed by unanimous decision.
I bet it was Jeff. I bet Jeffco stood out. Jefferson County. Yeah. For those that don't know, because and this is the. I don't mean to cut you off, Eric, but I mean this is the crux of it, right? These areas that are urban built, they're receiving billions of dollars from government bribe, really control. They're the holdouts, and so you we're building this opposition where you have rural, independent, freedom-minded individuals who want to build a nation based on hard work and based on freedom and sovereignty, and then you have a mass population area that is duped. And I'm not saying that the people are bad. I'm just saying they're duped. They're duped and bought and paid for. And so you'll see these massive counties like in Colorado, Jeffco, where they're on board with tyranny. Why not? Because it funds everything. And we talked again last night when we were talking about the thoughts of police and enforcement doing the right thing. I'm not convinced, Eric. I'm not convinced. That,
no, not at all.
Go ahead.
Not at all. And that's really the thing that really get me to end up cutting you off is because this is a no truer statement and can be made by anyone. But the thing is, is that the police are trained by the federal government. people really need to understand that I will guarantee you, I really truly believe that 6 or 7 out of 10 police officers are going to institute whatever the government tells them to do. Okay, so I mean, this is a reality. It has happened all throughout history. There is no reason, as far down the propaganda road we are, and as far down the mind control, we'll say, road that we are, with schooling and propaganda and education and constant bombardment from think tanks and television commercials, it will be difficult for you to get better than 3 or 4 police officers to actually wake up and smell the beans and realize what's going on and do something to help you. However, I will say, to the guys in Colorado, I want to all the people who are listening in Colorado, and I know I got some emails from gentlemen and ladies, both alike, when I asked for people to rally around their sheriffs in Colorado. We had massive turnouts. I want you to continue to do it. Continue to devote your time to those sheriffs, because these are things that are actually taking place right now. These are things where we're drawing a line in the sand. We're not asking our governor to make a decision. We've started camping out at the sheriff's offices, bombarding them with phone calls, and you know what? It made things happen. The sheriffs are actually banding together. So these are the types of actions you really need to want to do, and stay away from the funky legislation crap, because the Constitution already covers it. Why do you need to beat a dead horse?
That's a great point. More legislation is more confusion, and we know what confusion leads to. We'll be back with Eric Lovely and more Wide Awake News Radio. Please hang tight. All right, let's change gears here a little bit, because Karen had posted a question to me and Eric and Gary in the Skype chat. Again, guys, if you want to call in, and I know that we haven't taken callers for a while, but we will tonight, 877-342-6673, to go on any of these topics or whatever direction you want to go. That's fine with me. But Karen posted a question in there about Kokesh and his march on D.C., and July 4th, an open carry march on D.C. Gary Hendershot is committed to going. He lives right down in that area, so he's going to bring a camera and do some videoing. And it'd be great to go. Who knows? Maybe some of us can end up there. And Eric, let's get into this a bit, because I said to you during the break that it's. I don't know what the right words to use here. It isn't really like a bittersweet or anything like that. I respect the effort to what's going on, and I agree that it is a show of solidarity, perhaps, or the flexing of which is common law right. But to me, it's no different. I have no feeling toward it other. I mean, if they were carrying fishing poles, to me, it's as much a right of these individuals, like Kokesh and everybody. I hope 1 million people show up, but it is their right. This shouldn't be looked at. We shouldn't be, oh my gosh, look at these crazy, and this is how it's going to be spun. Look at these crazy red staters, and the whole shock value of it that is going to be placed on it by establishment, fill in the blank, is what is upsetting to me. I'm glad they're doing it, and I support them, and if I can go, I'm going. However, the whole mentality, it's kind of like the same thing as thinking your rights come from government and you're standing up to the man because you're walking up there with a weapon. Well, guess what? You're not doing anything other than what you should be doing in the first place. Eric, did I make sense on that?
Yeah, absolutely. Well, it's kind of like this. It's kind of like you see parents running around today and they do something right for their kid. Like that, I took them to soccer practice. Well, yeah. What do you want? A freaking trophy for something you were supposed to do already? Yes. People think that this is brazen, that this is off the cup, but this is actually constitutional reality taking place. Yes. This is how you're supposed to answer your tyrannical government. A show of force. People do not get it. This is the reason why, and the reaction that the public is going to have is the exact reason why you can look around and say, even people listening to us, 9 out of 10 chances, hands down, you really have no concept of what the Constitution really says. Because there are steps and actions. People read, they read the amendments and they go, well, wow, how do you enforce that stuff? It doesn't tell me. Well, did you pick up Posse Comitatus and read it? because it tells you how to enforce these actual clauses. And marches, armed marches and armed drills and things of that nature are within the document. It tells you clearly how to defend yourself. But see, then it goes back to this whole mental state where people are convinced or have been convinced socially and psychologically that people who have guns, we allow people to have guns because, they're still troglodytes. They're not evolved yet. So we're going to let them hunt and fish because they're not mentally superior like we are to be able to live without a gun.
And you nailed it when you said, we allow them. We allowed them. And that's what has to be extinguished from the dialogue of establishment. We allow them. No, you don't. You try to usurp. If you step outside, if you even utter that sentence, you are usurping individual freedom.
And absolutely. And I think that this is really what people have to understand is that there are lots of good people. Okay, we've both met amazing, wonderful people throughout the years that we've done radio, people with big heart. The problem with a person with a big heart is, okay, and some people might get mad, is because you're too soft, okay? You want to live and let live. You don't want to be in entangled, knockdown, drag-out fights. You want to go on about your life and say, all right, buddy, whatever you believe, stay over there and leave me alone, and I'll be over here, and it's all good. The problem is, good people, is at some point, even like a child, you have to lay down the discipline. There has to be some point, no matter how much you hate conflict, that you have to stand up and say, hey, look here, moron, enough is enough. I have let you go on too long. I have let you do these things to fellow man around me, and now I must stop you at all costs. And that's what it really boils down to. Look, if I can have a conversation with you, and you'll go back in your box, and the problem is solved, then I can go home. If the conversation doesn't work, well, you got to step it up to 10 in that hide. That's how this goes. There's no way around it. People are just a little mealy-mouthed, and they believe that. I don't really know what to tell you completely what people believe, but they really do look down on people who are going to be in this march. Even a lot of our own movement.
I guess I haven't heard a lot of naysayers in the freedom movement, or however we want to wrap this up. But there will be a lot of people by conditioning and by propaganda and by media that will look down upon this. I really, you and I are a little different on that respect, Eric, and you know that as well as I do. I really do hold and you're dragging me kicking and streaming into your perspective, and you have been for years. But I really am of the laissez-faire. Leave me the hell alone. Leave me alone. You do what you do as long as it doesn't infringe upon me, and I don't infringe upon you. Do your thing, and can't we all get along? Type of a deal. The construct of my nation is such that I am supposed to be ruled. We are supposed to be ruled as a nation by a simple piece of legislation, a piece of history that says you stay within these rules, you stay within these confines. We have no issue. But when we take it and exploit it and pervert it and turn it into some kind of evil that it has become over the years, then you inevitably you have to have a moment of real, concise, obvious, tense change, and that I believe is what we're going for. I want a question for you.
Okay.
I got a question for the chat from you, and I lost it. It was Meat Dog. He wanted to know, Charlie Eric. Sorry about this, Eric. Isn't this July 4th march to D.C. a great opportunity for government provocateurs to start shooting and make gun owners look crazy? Eric, answer it.
Absolutely. So all the chicken livers who really aren't going to do anything, go ahead and stay at home anyways. I mean, that's what this really boils down to. It's like the gun rally we went down.
Be chicken livers.
Because that's the way it is.
Okay.
The guy who runs Oath Keepers, and a lot of people don't hate it when I talk about this. Okay, we had a rally down in
the program. I'm actually a member.
We had a rally when I was on the radio station. We went down into New Mexico. It was a huge open carry rally. on private property. And
remember
he said, well, we got word there's going to be provocateurs there, so Oath Keepers isn't going to show. And they stayed at home, which cut our numbers in half. Okay, and no one showed up. There was no one there. You know, I'm tired of hearing about these chicken liver stories. If you got a provocateur, do exactly what we were going to do in Washington. Carry your zip ties with you. Carry your blackjack with you. Thunk them on the head. Zip tie him. Sit him on the side of the street and let the police collect their man. Because that's who he is. Okay, he's not one of you. He's one of them anyways. So you might as well zip tie him and give him back to him. But really,
the views expressed by Eric Lovely are that of his own. Please do not blackjack thump anybody on the head.
Well, you know what I mean. But this is the reality of where it has to go. These things have to be done. You see, here, let's have a history lesson. And anyone who wants to go back in history, don't look at what the government has said since 1945. Okay, when they changed treason and what the penalty for treason was. Okay. Under people like Eric Holder. Go back in time and see there was only one punishment for treason. Only one. It's called death. Okay? Under constitutional law, you have no other choice. If you commit an act of treason and you are guilty, you die. That's the way it goes.
And as far as the provocateur question, we got our last break of this first hour. We'll be back with Eric Lovely, more Wide Awake News Radio. I'll follow up on that on the backside of this break. Hang tight. I'm really chatty tonight. I'm Chatty Charlie. Welcome back to Wide Awake News Radio. Eric Lovely, Eric of the Lovely family, is our guest. We got Gary Hendershot in the background doing his magic, and Karen Tostado doing the scheduling, and Bonnie Bowman doing the web work. Thank you, everybody involved with Wide Awake News Radio. Provocateur, Meat Dog asked a very good question in the chat room. Is this going to be an opportunity? And Eric answered chicken neck thing, like he likes to do. And I answered a little bit during the break. And my answer to that would be absolutely. But every single day we get up, turn on the lights, suck wind, shave in the mirror, there is an attack on freedom that is every bit as dangerous as any agent provocateur. So I would really think that, we could have some kind of event happen there. But I guarantee we're going to have an event happen every single day that is an erosion of freedom in this country. So please don't let that dissuade you from showing up at an event that you are compelled or you feel compelled to show up at. Eric, am I off base there a bit?
No. Well, I think that the only thing that I would like to say is that you can arrange a rally like this, and it's necessary. Okay, I've already said that. Everybody heard me say that once. It's necessary. However, 7 days a week, 365 should be your rally. You should be openly carrying every single day, 7 days a week. You should be doing it in your town. You should be doing it in your communities. I have already seen an impact just from our group who regularly carry in the open everyone who goes into town. I have now noticed at the places that I frequent more armed individuals. I have seen others that I don't even know who are starting to carry in the open. People who have listened to the conversations that I have given them and what we've talked about the law and understanding how Colorado really works and the Constitution really works. I have seen an increase and uptick of armed civilians on the streets. This is something we need to, and you know what? If it's not allowed in a place where you are, then you need to do it anyways and change where you are. Change the mind of the people and the time set and where you are, or leave and go somewhere else. This is, this is about what Charlie said. You have only so much time. You best make the most of it. You better make the most of every single day. And I'm not saying risk the lives of your family and this and that and another to be on a shoestring, wind and a prayer to go somewhere. But if you have the means, if you have the ability, if you have contacts, if you have friends, you guys need to start coming together. And you really need to start building your own little communities and doing your own thing because you're running out of time. And the government is showing no signs of stopping. And I will tell you this, I completely agree with you, I agree with Peter Schiff, I agree with others. The moment they stop one QE check, okay, the moment 1 month they stop buying those mortgages, they stop buying those bonds, it's done.
Yeah.
So when you see the QE stop, ladies and gentlemen, it's already going to be too late because it means you've hit the wall. They're going to keep the QE running. They don't have to stop the QE to get themselves out. You see, they ride it out if they know, okay, the QE is only going to work for another 4 months, so we're going to reprop it for 90 more days, and then we're all going to bail out and exchange our paper for hard assets, and then in the last 2 months it'll implode on itself and we'll already be out. We'll already be on the other side with precious metals and commodities. That's what the banks are doing. That's what the rich people are doing already. So you need to be doing the same in reality, and definitely need to be educating yourself because I don't know how long people are going to spend without communication. So if things go ahead, I see the finger.
No, I have a question for you, and because once in a while you hit on something that I write down a question and I never get back to it because it's not really a challenge you on, but it's a looking back in history on, and I'm completely stepping all over your point here, and you were making a very good point. But I got a history question, and I need an answer, Eric Lovely. And I've been meaning to ask you this for a long time.
Okay.
And don't embarrass me if my knowledge is not up to par here. But you will anyway. I know you. All right. You talk about open carry. I'm all for open carry. Montana's an open carry state, so is Colorado. You talk about businesses or an establishment that won't let you, you should do it anyway. Two questions. One, if it's a private business, let's say I have a store, and I don't want. I have in my private business no sidearms allowed. That's A. And my thought would be on that simple. It's a simple matter of choice. I'm not going to go in there. I'm going to respect this individual's establishment, and I'm going to respect his wishes, but I'm not going to patronize him, and I'm not going to support him. That's one way. But what about in the days of old? We've all seen the movies, right? Where the sheriff, you love sheriffs. And so do I. I mean, they are the ultimate enforcement. They are the closest to the ground, the electorate. When they had cities that were no guns, is that BS or is that propaganda or is that legitimate?
You checked in your firearms at the sheriff's office and you picked them up when you left town. It was that simple.
Correct.
But how does that not violate your Second Amendment, the right to bear arms?
It really depends. If you were visiting the town and so forth, if you were in your private business, like say you were the barkeep,
right?
You could be armed to the gill inside your bar because it was your property. You could have, they didn't have bazookas back then, but you could if you could afford one. Now walking open carry on the streets. Okay, yes, it's unconstitutional. Exactly what it had happened, but like in the same situation we are now, the townspeople allowed it to happen, just because they had a bad sheriff and they allowed it to happen.
Or they thought, or they thought they were sold it was a good idea.
Correct. They thought they were doing something good, and they didn't realize they were doing something unconstitutional because no majority has the right to strip you of your ability to defend yourself.
That's
and
always
as long as you're on, you see, here's what gets you. If it's a public throughput, now what does this mean? Does this mean, doesn't matter who owns it. It doesn't matter if the whole entire town paid for this road, and they open the road to the public. Well, I can come from any other state I want, and it's a public throughput. Therefore, I have to be allowed my right to defend myself. Okay, this is how far gone we are. And people don't understand that this happened. This is the reason why people don't get it. This all started in the 1870, okay, 1865 with the Civil War. So, yes, you had these western towns and everything that believed what the Federalists had to say. The Federalists were the ones who won the Civil War, which was a strong, centralized, fascist, pseudo-nationalist kind of government that they had envisioned. This is the reason why you're Westerns and things. However, I will tell you, in reality and history, there were only 2 Western towns that didn't allow you to carry firearms, and that was because of the massive murder toll by the Red Sashes and another gang. But that's the reality. Every other town, if you tried to take someone's gun, even the sheriff, they would have shot you, because that's a lot of Hollywood bullcrap. If you actually go back and look at history, the sheriff had no deputies. And every month and whatnot, he would rotate through private citizens who would be deputized and who would help him do the activities he needed. If you look at posse comitatus and you understand that, here's what open carry really means. If you are going to be a constitutional open carry, it means you must have a 100% legitimate operating and ammunition field rifle on your possession in plain sight. You must have a full saber mount sword, okay, old cavalry blade on your side as well as your field rifle. You must also be carrying a sidearm as well as your sword and your field rifle, okay? This is the true constitutional definition of open carry. You are also, required to purchase your own uniforms, to look like the rest of the militia, and to take part as a cop. Okay, people don't understand how that really works, but that's where policemen originally came from. Everybody talks about the copper badges and coppers, and that's all fanciful crap that Hollywood has given you since the late 1900s. The actual posse comitatus is you, the citizens. You go on rotation. You volunteer 1 day a month, and you patrol the beat, and you apprehend citizens who are committing actual constitutional infractions. In other words, is someone beating someone up? Is someone stealing something? Is someone burning someone's property down? Because if there is no victim, a drunk guy staggering down the street, okay, he's not a criminal. I realize people are putting him in prison now, but he's not a criminal. He hasn't actually broken anything. He hasn't actually harmed anyone. A drunk driver, people have this idea that they're somehow doing something. Okay, well, out of the drunk drivers, before we did this stop, frisk, and take them to jail, okay, we have the exact same amount of drunk deaths, percentage-wise, before the law and after. Here's what we gained out of it. $162 million average per state in benefit payouts. In other words, the state is just collecting money. They haven't stopped the problem. There hasn't been a decrease in drunk driving homicides. Okay, there's just been an increase of how much money the state has pilfered from people.
In revenue,
yeah. So I mean, this is the reality. We must really understand. We must go back and look at what the definition of crime used to be, and that was fraud in your contracts, harming another individual, or harming another individual's property. And to answer your question earlier, okay, the Jeffersonian principle behind the Constitution is property. All of your rights come from property, not from government. However, it's not land property, it's creation property. And this is something you really need to listen to those forefathers who were in this classroom and listen to what the convention has had to say. My rights are bestowed upon me by birthright. For I own my days, my minutes, and my hours, and if I should die, those minutes are subtracted only from me and from none other. That was Thomas Jefferson at the state convention. People have to understand that they belong to you, your time, your effort, your energy, and that's where rights come from, because you were born owning your own body.
I could not agree with you more, except I don't know what nunce is. I'm just kidding.
None.
None. Okay. No, I agree with you. And how simple is that? How simple is that? And how basic is that? And honestly, this might sound a little sappy, but how poetic and truly beautiful is that? I own me. I own my time. I own my life. I answer to no one. And when I kick, I'm the only one who loses, because those are my minutes that I'm cashing in. Eric Lovely, always a pleasure. Thank you very much. We'll get you back on Thursday. We'll do another little fun 1 hour round session. If you want to hang out in the next hour, you already know you're welcome with Sheriff Mack. I understand you have obligations you got to handle, and I get that. Guys, stay tuned. We will be back in just a few minutes with Sheriff Mack, and we'll continue on this conversation. We'll be back in just a few. Hang tight.